fundaron la firma Jansson Wolfrum Architecture y Stadtplanung, o Planación de Ciudades, y bueno, han recibido numerosos premios por su trabajo. De 1995 al 96 fue profesora visitante en la Universidad de Kassel en urbanismo y arquitectura de paisaje, y desde 2003 bueno, se desempeña como profesora de diseño, diseño urbano y ordenación del territorio en la Facultad de Arquitectura de la Universidad Tecnológica de Múnich, en Alemania. La profesora Wolfrum es miembro de la Academia Alemana de Planificación Urbana Regional Espaciales y bueno, ha participado como jurado en numerosos proyectos y concursos. Asimismo, es miembro de numerosos comités de consulta bueno, en Suiza, y también bueno, ha participado como consejera asesor de arquitectura en varias ciudades de Alemania, Lörrach, Pforzheim, Ostfildern, y bueno, ha sido asesora del Instituto Goethe en cuestiones de ciencia y actualidad. Bueno, como ya se mencionó, sus principales áreas de investigación son diseño urbano y ordenación territorial, incluyendo urbanismo contextual, paisajes urbanos, y así como características que definen a las ciudades, como pueden ser la identidad, la imagen, la marca, y bueno, en general arquitectura y urbanismo. Entonces, bueno, muchas gracias a la profesora por su presencia, y bueno, iniciaremos con su presentación, que lleva el título de Game of Steps, o urbanismo performativo, performative urbanism, y pues muchas gracias.
Hello to everybody. I will talk in English and he will translate, and we just have to find the way what fits best, how many sentences I say, and then maybe you raise your hands sometimes if it's too long.
Okay. Entonces ella va a hablar en inglés y después de varias oraciones yo voy a traducir en español. Y
in the morning we had more or less case studies, and now I'm very general, very general, talking about architecture.
Okay. En la mañana tuvieron varios casos de estudio, ahora generalmente va a hablar de arquitectura.
Refers to some ideas which are quite commonly known. On the one hand, you know all this picture of the situationist movement, Game of Steps, is it?
El juego de pasos se refiere a ciertas ideas que son conocidas, ahí como pueden ver en esta imagen.
Which shows how the individual city is constructed by moving through the city.
Que demuestra que una ciudad es construida por varias partes que se mueven a la misma vez.
Yeah, and then it refers to a sentence of Michel de Certeau, the game of steps form space. They wave the structure of places. They cannot be localized because they entirely produce the space.
Bueno, el juego de pasos crea el espacio, crean una estructura de lugares, no pueden ser localizadas porque enteramente producen el espacio.
And this source of ideas, or this history of ideas, formed a certain practice of experiencing the city. Like this in Kassel, they have a tradition of walkscapes, they call it, or in German it's much more complicated sentence about leisure walking through the city.
Entonces, estas ideas han influido en la manera en la que las ciudades están construidas, con el reconocimiento de que cada área es un poco diferente.
Here you see an example of an present which was made by the students to a leading professor, Lucius Burkhardt, and they called it Strapping the Zebra.
Entonces, esta es una caminata que crearon unos estudiantes en homenaje a un profesor con influencia de una cebra.
Or you know about maybe the book of Francesco Carreri, Walkscapes, Walking as an Aesthetic Practice.
Quizás conocen el libro que se titula Wallscapes de Francesco Carreri.
Or a book by Ian Borden, Skateboarding Space in the City, that is about how the city is somehow transformed by using different means of movement.
También quizás conozcan el libro de Ian Borden, Skateboarding Space in the City, que habla de diferentes movimientos que definen a la ciudad.
So it is when I'm a healthy person and going through the city, I experience a different sort of city as when I'm, let's say, a mother with twins in a big car, or sitting in a wheelchair, or being ill and can't walk properly.
Entonces, la ciudad cambia según la persona que eres. La ciudad se interpreta diferentemente si eres una madre con 2 hijos, si eres una persona anciana, quizás estás enfermo y no puedes caminar bien. Según la persona que eres, interpretas la ciudad de una manera distinta.
There's, for example, the story when in German cities the habit started with bicycles as a transport of information and small goods. And then slowly after, I think it started in the 90s, in the beginning of the 90s, now it's 20 years of this practice, and even the cities begin to change because they need bicycle routes and bicycle lanes, and the cars start to react to these fast-going bicycles.
Entonces, un ejemplo es en Alemania, donde se empezaron a usar bicicletas para mover productos pequeños o transmitir información, y a lo largo de los años las ciudades han cambiado para adaptarse al uso de bicicletas por una gran parte de la población.
There's one guy in Berlin, he's in English from London, and he lives in Berlin, and he has some device around his ankle which is tracking his routes over the year. And then he draws a map, or he produces a map showing his movements through the city from 1 year. This is the year 2006. Unfortunately, I don't have some different years, but they look always quite different from year to year. It's how he perceives the city through moving 1 year through the city. But I, as somebody who knows Berlin, I immediately recognize this is Berlin.
Entonces, hay un inglés que vive en la ciudad de Berlín. Is his name Daniel Blasco? Is his name Daniel?
Sorry?
Is the Englishman's name Daniel?
No, his name is Daniel Balasco.
Okay.
Daniel Balasco.
Okay. Que vive en Berlín, que tiene como un tipo monitor que persigue los movimientos que hace alrededor de la ciudad, y al fin de cada año hace un dibujo donde pueden ver cuáles son las rutas que toman. Ella, siendo alemana, inmediatamente puede reconocer que esa es la ciudad de Berlín.
It's somehow a similar map like the situationist map. They located the spots and made the movement more abstract in between, and here you don't see the spots but only the movement.
Okay. También han hecho otras imágenes donde las hacen un poco más abstractas, pero aquí nada más son las meras líneas.
And then I as well reflect the ideas of Henri Lefebvre, which he defined space is produced, the production of space, which space is perceived and conceived and lived. And I don't want to explain it, just referring now.
Aquí hace referencia a Henri, que define el espacio como algo que puedes percibir, después lo creas y lo vives.
That was Game of Steps, and then the next chapter, is about performing the city. There's let's say a bundle of ideas which is around this performing idea, and it has some sources in performing arts. The performing arts that was let's say a period in all over the world, but very strong in Europe. And here, for example, you see one project which is from the 60s, end of the 60s, where in Vienna we were very strong in this performing arts projects, and that is Wally Export and Peter Weibel. And she takes him like a dog through the city. That is, of course, movement again, but it's a project of performance because it's reflecting to the audience.
Entonces terminó el primer capítulo y el segundo capítulo habla sobre obras de teatro en la ciudad, algo que tomó lugar al principio del siglo y fue muy fuerte en Europa. Este es un ejemplo de Valerie Export, donde toma un hombre y lo camina como que si fuera un perro, y se considera performance porque es una actuación y da sentido.
Same time, that was Gordon Matta Clark a little bit later, who was a trained architect, but he performed the city in another way, was making these huge sculptures in the houses which were demolished, and he uses this in period of acting in this. And this is a piece of art which he did in, while the Centre Pompidou was constructed.
Este es otro aspecto, otro edificio de arquitectura de Gordon Matta Clark, que usaba como edificios o cercas de edificios que se iban a derrumbar para también darle otro sentido a la ciudad.
There was an exhibition in Munich which collected all these performing art pieces and projects, but on the poster of the exhibition was somebody who is contemporary and not 30 years looking back, and that is, where did I write it? Oh, sorry, just have forgotten his name. He's from Barcelona, Spanish, and he travels all over the world and makes this sort of maquettes and models of buildings, and then he carries it through the town, and that's a sort of performing project which is reflecting to the audience as well.
Entonces, había una organización que coleccionaba todas esas obras de teatro. La persona que ven aquí es una persona de Barcelona que viaja a diferentes ciudades y hace como réplicas de los edificios, también para hacer como otra obra de teatro en la ciudad.
And then the third chapter is, they're all related here, moving, performing, and occupying. Occupying space is somehow producing space by building your own personal space bubble. As this is Lisa May Post is a artist from Netherlands, and she makes this body performance, which is in fact she makes photographs and then she exhibits the photographs of this body performance. But it's very strong about making this with your own body, her own body, this spatial quality, producing space by doing this.
Entonces, este capítulo se llama el uso de espacio. Estas son fotografías de una persona que al ocupar un espacio está creando su propio espacio. Entonces, lo que pueden ver en las imágenes.
And this is a photograph I did myself in a small park or plaza in Munich, and you see this man is sleeping there. And what is he doing? While sleeping, even putting his shoes in front of the bench, he produces as well a personal space bubble around him, which is very, very private, because sleeping is something very private because you are without any protection in this situation. So when he does this in a public space, it shows he has some trust in the situation. He's not anxious that somebody might rob him or do him any harm. He's even showing his inner part of his body to the audience, and that is somehow, which is indicating a situation in the public space when somebody is behaving like that.
Entonces, esta es una imagen que ella tomó en un parque de un hombre durmiendo en una banca, y lo que quiere que reconozcan es que es un espacio público. Sin embargo, el hecho de dormir es algo muy privado. Lo que pueden ver en esta imagen es que él tiene confianza en ese espacio público de hacer algo privado, que es dormir. Hasta pueden ver cómo su estómago se expone al público y obviamente tiene mucha confianza. Y eso quiere decir algo del espacio.
Yeah, that is, let's say the completely different situation. That was last year in Sao Paulo. And everywhere in the city center, they had this devices protecting the space to be occupied in any way.
Entonces, esta situación es diferente, era en Sao Paulo, donde tenían objetos que protegían el espacio público y no lo podías usar de la misma manera.
Yeah. Being private in the public, or is it publicity for private games, or is it sometimes the situation is not easily to define.
Entonces a veces una situación es difícil de definir, entonces como pueden ver aquí, quieren jugar un juego, que es algo privado, pero lo tienen que hacer en un espacio público.
That is in Mumbai, under a highway bridge or elevated highway, and this going through the city creates sort of a roof throughout the city, and beneath this roof there is a public space which is never designed as a public space, evolving, and people are doing things which are somehow, they even live there, so that it's creating a private space. Sometimes they have like little business there, or they do something which I can't, as a stranger, can't interpret.
Entonces, esta es una imagen de Mumbai en India, donde han creado una autopista elevada y bajo de esa autopista se crea un espacio público donde personas a veces abren sus empresas, pero a la vez, como pueden ver, incluso hasta personas viven allí y también se convierte en un espacio privado.
Yeah, they create a sort of space by occupying the space.
Como dijo, se crea un espacio al simple hecho de ocuparlo.
In the same city, just beside a bridge access, there's a very small side lane for walking, but it's completely occupied by small houses. They have only 1.20 meters depth and 2 stories. You see on the right hand your small child living in the upper floor, and yeah, this is self-made city for not even the poorest in the city. The poorest, they only have a string on the wall for some clothes and nothing else. This is second level or third level already, but it's sort of occupying public space for private space, quite a political thing in the city.
Entonces, esta es una imagen de la misma ciudad, pero al lado de una autopista hay una caminata un poco más grande de 1 metro. Como pueden ver, es un espacio público, sin embargo, hay hogares de 2 pisos que son usados para uso privado. Estos no son ni los más pobres, porque los más pobres solo tendrían como un cordón para colgar la ropa. Sin embargo, es otra circunstancia en la que un espacio público se convierte en algo privado.
After these three chapters, I want to connect this with architecture. Architecture as an art to articulate space. In the sense we had before with moving, occupying, and performing. And this is a sketch from quite a famous German architect, Fritz Schumacher, from the 20s, when he explains architecture in a sort of common way. Here you have picture, art of painting, picture just being opposite, visual connection, visual perception. Then you have a sculpture, sort of figure, you can surround it.
Entonces lo que quiero hacer en este capítulo es tomar los 3 capítulos anteriores y decir cómo se interpretan en la arquitectura. Esta es una imagen de un artista, de un arquitecto famoso, Erich Schumer, de su interpretación de la arquitectura, donde tienes la imagen arriba y la puedes percibir, y a cambio abajo tienes la imagen y la puedes redondar con un...
And then comes architecture, and you have to go around to see it as a sculpture, but you have to go in and to see it, perceive it as an inner space, and you can do this only by moving this. You can't just visit and perceive by your eyes. You have to move around, and you have to move inside, and to have to move through the succession of rooms.
Entonces, lo que pueden ver es, para considerarlo arquitectura, lo tienes que ver desde afuera, pero te tienes que mover, no te puedes quedar fijo, si no, no lo ves como una estructura. A la vez también tienes que entrar y ver el espacio que se contiene adentro, y es así que se interpreta como algo de arquitectura.
And this is somehow from the same period, a definition as well from architecture. In architecture, the recipient is always a teammate. He's always playing a... the recipient is always playing a role while perceiving the architecture. So he's not just outside and in opposition, he's part of the experience.
Entonces, la primera oración es que en arquitectura el recipiente siempre es un compañero de equipo, o sea que alguien siempre está recibiendo.
Yeah. And this, the contemporary debate is referring to this, with the idea of scenic or performative, and this distinguishes architecture from other cultural design techniques like photography and so on.
Entonces, en el debate contemporáneo, la idea es que lo que está sucediendo en la ciudad es lo que la define y lo que distingue a la arquitectura a otros medios culturales, como la fotografía.
Just to have one piece of architecture which shows it very vividly. This is CCCB in Barcelona, Central Contemporary Cultural de Barcelona, yeah, by Pinon and Via Plana.
Entonces, una imagen que demuestra esta idea es el centro CCCB en Barcelona, y como pueden ver la imagen aquí.
Yeah, and there's a old building which is U-form, and it was closed with a new building on the fourth side, which is this glass building.
Entonces, el edificio a la izquierda es un edificio viejo en forma de U que fue cerrado, pero en la parte abierta construyeron un edificio nuevo.
Yeah, and then it's closing a public square inside as from the four sides.
Okay. Así crean como un espacio público al encerrar los cuatro lados.
And the new building works like a mirror, reflecting the outside of the building over the roof back, because it's like this. You can look back over the roofs of the old city part to the harbor.
Entonces el nuevo edificio igual funciona como un espejo donde puedes ver la ciudad al mirar el nuevo edificio porque sobrepasa el edificio viejo.
And of course it's reflecting the interior, it's quite reflecting. On the other side, that is this interior plaza, and on the other side there's this bench behind this wall. You go down, let's see, here, you go down under the plaza. Yeah, here you go down under the plaza, and under the plaza there's a reception room. And then, here you see, you go down the reception room, and then this is sort of staircase, elevator, and just transportation building for serving all the rooms in the old building.
Entonces, lo que pueden hacer es tomar como un pasillo y bajar debajo del edificio, y hay un cuarto de recepción donde puede entrar al nuevo edificio, subirlo y pueden ver hacia abajo.
It's sort of a moving machine, this building, which was the essential of architecture here, going down, going through this door, through the big reception hall, and then I don't think you don't need to translate it, it's just showing this, and then in this vertical room house, bring everything together with the elevator and staircases, and yeah, and then on the top you look back to the building, and outside even far over the city. And then it's, of course, integrated in a strong urban fabric of the old city. This is the house I'm talking about, and you have the outside garden, and then this is a museum of modern art from Richard Meyer, with the plaza in front of it. Outside in this garden.
Es afuera en el jardín.
Yeah, and then, of course, you can use architecture to introduce movement and to, let's say, to work against this tendency just to stay there and look and think everything they have seen. And there are a lot of means in architecture, as for example stairs, which just attract movement.
Entonces, la arquitectura se puede usar para crear movimiento en vez de nada más crear algo que se puede mirar. Un ejemplo serían escaleras que introducen o le influyen a la persona para que camine.
And as well as they introduce or enforce movement, they give offer space for occupation.
Y no solo presentan la oportunidad para caminar, pero también para que uno se pueda sentar y ocupar un espacio y a la vez crearlo.
And they are, let's say, a stage in the public or in the private situation, as this is the Casa Malaparte in Capri, used here as a stage in the film of Godard.
También se pueden usar como para obras de teatro, como en este ejemplo de la película.
And if I combine all these thoughts about occupation movement and this idea of architecture, which is combined with this idea of occupying the city and producing space, then we come at the end to an aspect of performative urbanism, which is connecting this idea of public space as a stage for acting of people and being observed of a sort of audience, but in the same way being performative as in the meaning of linguistic theory, which means performative is producing a reality.
Entonces, si se toma en cuenta que la arquitectura se puede usar para crear espacio y movimiento en la ciudad, se puede entender que en espacios públicos hay mucha actividad y que al ocupar un espacio, las personas crean un espacio y pueden participar en tipo, no obras de teatro, sino que escenas que le dan vida a la ciudad.
And here you have the example of the somehow transformed High Line in New York, which was an old elevated railway line, and now it's a urban garden, which is world famous, I think, and transformed the whole part of the city to another stage.
Entonces aquí era como tipo un lugar donde esperaban el tren, lo convirtieron en un jardín y le ha cambiado el sentido a esa parte de la ciudad.
This can be observed in the somehow same way with much more simple means, which is a situation in Sao Paulo where elevated street is closed on Sunday. I think you have the practice in the city as well. When the street is closed on Sunday, it changes completely its performance, and people use it for just producing themselves or doing some sport or being in the public.
Esto también se puede ver de una manera más fácil en Sao Paulo, donde cierran la autopista y la gente puede caminar. Y esto cambia completamente el ambiente de la ciudad, porque salen diferentes tipos de personas, participan en algún deporte.
And this, in fact, this girl is one of our exchange students, she was in Sao Paulo last year, And she didn't notice that she was observed by this gentleman on the balcony. Only when I showed her the photo, she realized that is somehow, we have this interrelation of performing, being observed, being the performer or being the audience, or let's see, while producing space in the city, of course, you are mainly the performer.
Entonces ahí en la parte superior a la izquierda es un estudiante de intercambio que no notó que la estaban observando el hombre en la esquina de abajo. Y esto toma en cuenta, o sea, cuando estás en la ciudad, si eres una persona que está en una cena y te están observando, o si tú eres el observador. Entonces tiene ese interesante contraste.
Yeah, that is leads to focus on very simple situations which are not designed in this sense of being a little bit over-designed or being too too strong or to force people to do something special. Yeah? That is always. I was thinking about your lecture, Helen, in the morning, which is maybe this PLAZA is a little bit over-designed. Yeah? With all this water and coming out and so, and this idea of performing the city or performative city is very much dealing with everyday spaces and using this in a sometimes a different way. Of course, this small piece of grass was not thought to be a recreation area, but it somehow works because you see he has the shadow from the bridge, and so it's suddenly is city is interpreted differently.
Entonces, estos son ejemplos breves de espacios pequeños alrededor de la ciudad. Son ejemplos de espacios que no se les piensa mucho, como por ejemplo en alguna plaza donde tienen una función específica de qué es lo que quieren que haga la gente. Entonces el ejemplo es ese pasto donde no se diseñó para ser algún lugar donde pudieran descansar. Sin embargo, al estar al lado del puente, crea sombra, el zacate es cómodo y ha sido usado de una manera distinta.
Yeah, therefore, I very much believe in the capacity of urban spaces produced by the people who use this space and not so much by the architect or designer who has an idea how this should be used, and then somehow the stage is already set up for urban life.
Entonces, ella cree que en cierto sentido las personas que usan y ocupan el espacio son los que crean o definen cuál es el uso, no necesariamente los arquitectos o los diseñadores que los crean.
And of course, all these observations and ideas have nothing to do with style or with whether it's a contemporary city or which is modern or somehow historic, or it is working in each situation.
Entonces, estos son ejemplos o no se refiere a un estilo específico, o sea, estos son ejemplos que han funcionado en diferentes tipos de ciudades.
But of course it has a lot to do with atmosphere and the capacity of the local space which supports the atmosphere, like this is in Alicante, and in Spain, you know, we have this perfect tradition of public streets which are for walking, but very near, beside just behind this line of palm trees, there's quite a heavy road.
Entonces, más que nada, el espacio depende mucho del ambiente. Entonces, este es un ejemplo de la ciudad de Alicante, en España, que tiene una cultura de caminatas grandes donde las personas pueden caminar. Sin embargo, atrás del bosque hay una carretera grande.
And it's about atmosphere. Did you mention this?
Yeah, ambiente.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ambiente is atmosphere.
No.
It's
like environment.
No.
No, more.
There's no word in Spanish for atmosphere.
Atmósfera. Wait. Atmósfera.
Because I'm listening what you translate.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay. And maybe in the end, some examples. This example I like very much. That is a new bridge in Basel, and it's connecting to autopistas or highway systems in Germany and France on the other side through Switzerland, which is very small in this edge of the country. And in the and on this level, there is this connection of the highway system. So the bridge has to be quite wide to get all these lanes included. And on the top, on the top there is just a normal city road, and which is quite small, and therefore you have this very wide walkways or trottoirs. And that was in when there was a public event of football in European competition in 2008, and then there was we call it in Germany public viewing. We use this English word, but it's not an English expression.
Entonces, el ejemplo que a ella le gusta es la imagen que vieron anteriormente de un puente que conecta ambos países. La parte de abajo es una autopista que contiene varios carriles, entonces es un puente ancho. Sin embargo, en la parte de arriba simplemente es como de varios carriles, no está igual de grande. Entonces las caminatas en ambos lados son muy anchas y se usa como un espacio público, en este ejemplo, para ver partidos de fútbol.
And I like it so much because that was never designed especially as a public plaza or a public place, but it was in the same way because it has this enough space, and of course it's on the middle on the river, so it's really a huge situation to not just to pass by, but even to settle down and to use it in this way.
Entonces la razón por cual le gusta es porque al diseñarlo la intención no era hacerlo un lugar donde se podía convivir la gente. Sin embargo, como hay suficiente espacio y está sobre el río, es un lugar que le llama la atención y muchas personas van a convivir ahí.
And of course, in this sense, you can refer to quite old ideas about townscape and how you perceive the city, move through the city, and you see some light in the end of the room, and then you expect there must be something going on. That was in Barcelona, of course. You never enter this small road if you don't see the light in the end, and that introduces you or invites you to move through this small road, and then in the end people are passing by, and then this of course this has a lot to do with architecture to let's say, to offer this capacity of situations.
Entonces, en estas imágenes lo que quiere demostrar es, por decir, el diseño de la ciudad puede invitar a personas a caminar por ella. Entonces, por estos callejones, muchas personas, si ven luz al final, los invita a que caminen ahí. Entonces, lo que pueden ver al final es que se encuentran con personas y hay mucho más movimiento en la ciudad.
And this is somehow expressed as in even better and very short way by Baudrillard when he says he thinks about scenic space. Without buildings would only be structures, and the city only an agglomeration.
¿Les traduzco eso? Bueno, sería como espacio escénico, sin edificios, solo serían estructuras, y la ciudad solo una aglomeración.
Or Gordon Kahn said a city is a dramatic experience within our environment.
Entonces, Gulen dijo que una ciudad es una experiencia dramática dentro de nuestro ambiente.
Yeah. That somehow use the words or the expression from performance arts, but I think the idea of performative urbanism goes a little bit beyond this performance, and performance in a sort of a script which you have to follow. It's the performative idea makes you produce the space while you are doing this.
Entonces, la última expresión tiene un poco de influencia de las obras de teatro. en el sentido de que las personas actúan en la ciudad, pero no de una manera rígida o preplaneada, sino que ocupan un espacio, lo usan y viven sus vidas.
And at the end, two projects in Sao Paulo, which I think are perfect in offering this opportunity to produce public and open spaces. This is Ibirapuera Park by Oscar Niemeyer, and it's just a big roof, which is the best in the park. This really huge roof, and Sunday morning people come from everywhere and they do their sports or their little business, or they have theater groups. Everything is happening there, or just going there. Outside is a little bit rain or too much sun. You use the shadow of this quite low roof for performing the city.
Pues un ejemplo de personas usando un espacio público es un techo que han creado en un parque en Brasil, donde cada domingo en las mañanas las personas quizás van, abren sus puestos, juegan algún deporte, si está lloviznando, ahí se cubren. Entonces es un buen ejemplo.
Yeah. Or the Centro Cultural in Sao Paulo, it's working quite well as in the same way, offering a lot of possible situations for, in this case, really doing some performances. They're doing breakdance. The young people, they're using the window as a mirror.
Otro ejemplo sería el Centro Cultural en Sao Paulo, donde las personas usan un vidrio como un espejo para bailar break o cualquier otra obra.
I just skip over that. And at last, Lina Bobadi, Seski Pompeia, which is a cultural center and very open to the public and offering this non-defined space for that's just doing your own performance, as you see in this case.
Otro ejemplo sería
Cultural center.
Otro centro cultural que no tiene un uso definido, y es otro ejemplo donde las personas simplemente van y cada quien vive su vida y es lo que le da vida a la ciudad.
Yeah,
no tiene uso definido, como pueden ver.
Yeah, that's the end.
El final.